Here.
Director Decker,
Here.
Director Harvey,
Here.
Director Lohman,
Yep.
Director Slater Carter.
Present.
Okay, all present and accounted for. Thank you all for joining us tonight for the President's Statement. Let me just observe we had more rain last night. That's terrific. I don't know about you, but I certainly enjoyed hearing it coming down. That put us at just shy of 26 inches of rainfall on the year. And for reference, an average annual is 32. So we're still shy of the average, but we're well above the previous 2 years at 17 and 14. So this is a pretty good for a drought, but let's remember we're still in a drought. Some of our neighbors have instituted emergency measures. It's a good idea still to be water wise, and our community always has been, and it's great to be able to count on everybody. Let's see, do we have any oral comments for items that are not on the agenda? I'm seeing none, so let's then go to old business, item 1. Clemens, do you want to maybe move this one to the end and on the off chance that they show up?
Great idea. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, let's reorder this agenda. We're hoping that someone from CSDA shows up to help present this certificate. It'd be really great to have them here when we do it. So there's no rush. Let's hold off and see if they should join. I take it they're not stranded in the lobby. New business item 1. Let's move on to that one. Review and possible action concerning California Senate Bill.
Should we do the whatever you call it?
Consent agenda?
Public comment.
Well, we've done public comment, and the consent agenda we've done by virtue of the fact that there's nothing on it tonight.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? But I saw the none in parentheses. So, but you know what? I mean, every meeting you guys catch me skipping something, so it's good to keep me on my toes. Okay, review and possible action. New business 1. Review and possible action. California Senate Bill 114, COVID-19 supplemental sick leave.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So the SB 114 was introduced in February, and it allows allows employees of a company that is larger than or has a minimum of 25 employees to provide up to 40 hours of COVID-19 supplemental sick leave and up to 40 hours of supplemental paid sick leave to employees who are taking care of a close family member for COVID-19 cases. And so we are in a situation where we have a rather small staff of 7 employees, so this doesn't really apply to us. However, we are in a situation where folks either can get COVID. We don't want them really in the office. We're trying to give them, of course, modified work. Sometimes that doesn't work well for the field staff, for example. And sometimes also we are in a situation where a close family member is sick with COVID-19. And we're also trying to prevent those employees to essentially have to come to the office. Or it is difficult to essentially tell them to stay home and take their sick time under these circumstances. So talking this through with our personnel counsel, Christopher, he suggested that we take a route that the Sewer Authority Mid-Coast side already took, and that is to allow essentially our employees to take these sick leave hours under SB 114. I anticipate that this has minimal to no financial impact, really, to the district. We are paying our employees their salary already. So there may be a little bit lost work, but I think actually in total, there's probably a that's probably not true either, because we're running the risk of infecting other employees and even creating more lost work if we don't have that in place. So the suggestion here is to consider to implement this COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave to all district staff with a retroactive date of January 1 and a sunset date of September 30. And I probably butchered this a little bit apart, and Christopher can present this so much better than I can. So I'm just going to hand this over to him and tell me what I did wrong in my presentation. Christopher, maybe you can fill in the gaps that I left here.
Great. Thank you, Mr. General Manager, and good evening, President Boyd and members of the board. No, I think our General Manager has summarized it quite succinctly and quite well. This does entirely track the current legislation, so there are no deviations from it. This is what the state is mandating any employers with 25 or more employees to offer to their employees. As the board may recall, last year, the state did something similar, and it was same thing, retroactive to January through September 30th. There was a bit of a gap, and it wasn't until more recently that the California legislature had passed SB 114, but made it retroactive. The best way to look at this piece of legislation is perhaps the encouragement of voluntary compliance, that if someone had been exposed, employees who may not necessarily have sick leave, sometimes may just run the risk of still coming to work. I think one of the challenges we're going to get into is that even though things seems to be looking better and the state is relaxing, more of the guidelines like, masks, we are experiencing, an uptick in variants, BA2 being sort of the most primary one. And that's even more easily spreadable than some of the other prior variants. So with a small crew and more relaxed standards under the state, it is something the board, we're putting it forward for the board to consider. But given that we have a very small crew, especially at Montara, it has not been my experience that there's any signs of abuse from any of the previous rounds, whether it was the federal leave that originated in 2020 or the state supplemental sick leave that was put up in 2021. The fact that you have a very small crew, I think this will alleviate some of the pressures that we may have in case there's exposure issues. Employees would be more willing to voluntarily self-comply and stay home and quarantine rather than running the risk of them coming to work. There is not any budgetary impact, as the general manager stated, as we can expect, and the productivity from my very humble standpoint would have been lost anyway, because if someone has to stay home, they have to stay home. So we would not have had that productivity. So this is really more of a risk management and a mitigation tool, just given the times that we're in. And we're happy to answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
I see Catherine's hand.
Thank you. I have a quick question. That's ends September 30 this year, 2022.
Yes, Director.
So it's essentially a 9-month span.
Yeah, and we've had very little reasons for employees to have to use it up until this point, since it's retroactive. So we're talking another 5 months and it's over, but that is consistent with the legislation.
I personally think it's a good idea. I know that I've always taken the philosophy, if I'm sick, don't come to work, don't go shopping, don't go out. But I do believe for families, it's a tougher thing to stick to, and we need to keep our crew as healthy as possible. So I support this.
Do we have others?
I move the staff recommendation.
I'll second that.
All right. Rick has moved and Catherine has seconded. I'll just mention this fits with what I'm seeing in my workplace and philosophy I've long had of if you're sick, do us all a favor, take care of yourself and stay at home. And we're in a public health business, so this is a good place to really practice that principle. So I want to thank you, Christopher and Clemens, for bringing this forward. I appreciate it. And I really hope it does something to maybe alleviate any stress of any staff member who finds themselves confronted with the problem of having it or being exposed to it and wondering what to do. Let's not make that a tough. It's tough enough. We don't need to compound that. So I'm supportive. Any further comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Tracy, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 5-0. Let's move on to new business item 2, review and possible action concerning participation in state scholar share 529 workplace savings program.
All right, thanks, Scott. Yeah, so this program is offered by the California State Treasurer's Office, and that is an after-tax direct deposit program, as all 529 plans really are. The interesting part here is, so the State Treasurer Office is essentially offering to take the administration of the 529 plans for our employees. That means there is no reporting requirements or no contract required for us as an agency or for the employees. There is no charge for us. There is a small fee, of course, for the employees that are participating for the transactions. But all we would do is essentially provide a payroll slot to facilitate the direct deposit feature. Means they can set aside a share of their salary after tax, and that be deposited directly into their own 529 account that is held with the State Treasurer's Office. The office would reach out to our employees and provide all the support that they need. So I think this is a really good program that we were made aware of. I actually checked with the other coastside agencies. The city has something, City of Half Moon Bay has something like that in place. I don't think it's directly with the State Treasurer's Office. The others were not aware, so I'm trying to get them the information as well. So these 529 plan, of course, is for essentially education of our employees' children, can be used for expenses like tuition, room, board, books, computers, etc., etc. I think this is a great program. I'm glad we are aware of it and can sign up. And again, there's nothing that we really sign. We just set this up and let the Treasurer's Office come in and educate our employees and let them make the decision if they participate or not. So the recommended action here is to direct the general manager to enlist the Montara Water and Sanitary District as participating agency in the state program. Thank you.
Right. I know we're going to have a question or two about this one. Anyone?
I'll make a motion.
Actually, no.
I think this is a wonderful program. Thank you, Clemens, and whoever brought this forward. I think that it's just an overall good plan, and I'm glad we can participate. So I'll make a motion to adopt this program.
So the other thanks goes to Scott, actually, who spent some time looking at this with me together also.
Good.
And you said whoever brought it to us. So it was brought to us through TIAA and at the direction and urging and I believe funding of the State Treasurer's Office. So this is what I told them, and what I'll share here is my thought is, I mean, first off, I'm familiar enough with investment plans to look at this and go, those asset fees are low. Although Peter, check me if I'm wrong, but I believe that somewhere from 0 to 0.41% with passive portfolios in the 0.1% range. That seems like a pretty low fee structure for an investment.
Me too, yes.
And so I just love that the legislature managed to pass something that the treasurer's office can get out there and promote to a district as small as ours and bring benefit to any of our employees who find that this may fit and benefit with what they're doing with their families. I think it's great.
I second it.
Okay, so I believe that's a motion from Catherine and a second from Rick. And the recommendation is just that we direct the general manager to enlist the agency as a participating agency in the state WSP. Let's go ahead and take a roll call vote. Tracy, if you could.
Okay. Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Director Harvey.
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Of course.
Okay. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Clemens did the hard part of talking to these guys and thinking it through. And so thank you, Clemens. Let's see. No sign of our CSDA person yet, right?
No, and I don't think we're gonna have someone tonight, unfortunately.
Well, what's your preference? Do we want to continue the item or?
I think so. Let's just continue it, and that way we
Okay.
get a chance.
I
of
mean,
looking at it
it's a
too.
good news item. It's
Yeah.
really intended as a bit of a celebration, and
Exactly.
let's do that right. Okay, well then let's go to reports. Sewer Authority Midcoast.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, well,
Let me see what's going on at SAM. Why don't we go to the next one after the
Let me
CSDA
see.
event, and I'll look up the agenda.
okay, let me see. Carlisle, did you have something on the last topic or?
Well, I did, but then Clemens finally jumped to the chase at the end and said what the 5-0 whatever it was plan was. But this one is, I do want to ask Catherine when she's looking through her notes. I didn't attend the live broadcast of the SAM meeting, but I do have a question about where, I mean, they had this presentation about somebody from MIT that did, they sampled the sewer stuff for COVID, signs of COVID. So I want to know if we're ditching COVID into the ocean, what happens if it's affecting wildlife? So Catherine, when you get a chance, if you can answer it, that's fine. I know you want us to move on, so I'll wait till you get back to it.
Actually, on that specific question, I bet Clemens might have a thought.
Okay. Well, I mean, do you want to wait till she gives her mess
Well,
meeting?
I can tell you that was not brought up at the meeting.
Yeah, I know. I figured.
And what they were looking for, for those who are interested, it's worth watching on the SAM broadcast. It was fascinating because they can pretty much track the incidence of the beginning of COVID in the Blackwater stream to a rise in the number of cases subsequent to that finding. And that's essentially what they were doing.
Invented in Holland, I may add.
Pardon?
Invented in Holland, I may add.
Oh, cool.
Well, yes, and develop and yeah, it was worked on by, and the program was developed by women. So MIT, was it right?
MIT.
Caltech?
At
Yeah,
MIT.
the
It was
presentation.
MIT.
The presentation is at the SAM website, which is samcleanswater.org. And if you go down into the agendas, and it's the second item on the 2022 list, and it's the BioBot presentation.
So if Clemens does know the question I asked, I'd love to hear. Obviously they can find traces of COVID in the sewer and predict the rise of COVID, but if it goes out to the ocean, is it affecting sea creatures at all? Thank you.
So, Sid, I'm not a doctor or marine biologist, so I don't know, but I think I have an idea. If you recall, at the very beginning of COVID, we all learned a little bit how it is actually transmitted, and we understand that there was a fear that it adheres to surfaces, and I think that went a little bit away. But we know it's basically airborne. We also understand that it is actually very easy to kill the COVID-19 bug itself. So I have a strong assumption, I do not know, but I have a strong assumption that the actual cells, the actual virus that is found in the sewage is probably by then not alive anymore. So it can still be detected. I also think that, after the treatment process, that it probably poses not a very big risk to marine life, meaning that it's probably dead. But it's a good question, and I think we can probably run it through Sam to, ask that question or get some information about that.
I think the answer is that.
Wow, Clemens. Go ahead.
Jim, what were you saying?
Is it my turn?
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, it's
I was
Jim's turn.
just
Oh, no.
reading of animals coming down with COVID, and I think minks and some other animals recently have been found to have COVID. So, and it originated in the wet market in China, as far as they know. So the wet market might have sea life or, pangolins and all kinds of other things. That's all. The only reason I ask is because, I'm concerned about the environment and animals. But go ahead. Jim was about to talk too when I was talking. Sorry.
Well, I apologize. I was just going to say that, viruses have two components, protein and DNA. And when the viruses hit the wastewater, those things are released, and the protein can be tested, analyzed to find the viral proteins. And more sophisticated is the test for the viral DNA. So the cells are not viable, but the remnant protein and DNA is in the wastewater.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jim.
Right, and the agenda for Sam was not memorable. There was the report on the wastewater sampling, which was. The next two items were to approve the purchase order for a submersible chopper pump for the Montara pump station. And the other was to purchase a chopper pump for sludge mixing pumps at the plant. And then we finalized our agreement with the general manager. So it was blissfully routine. I took a tour of the plant the other day, Tuesday, and they were doing work on the bus duct and some other electrical work that gets done every 5 or 6 years. So this was routine maintenance, but they had to shut all the power off at the plant. They were able to hold all of the flow from the north, from Montara and Granada. Frenchman's Creek South, Miramar South, was flowing into the pipes, as well as all of Half Moon Bay. There was some concern that they didn't have enough storage. This was on a slow Wednesday. It was yesterday. It was a slow Wednesday afternoon, but there was concern that as to how they were going to manage flow if they didn't get the power put back on in a timely fashion. It once again goes to show the importance of having a holding tank to be able to get work done during the day. If they had to do this at night, it would have cost quite a bit more because of overtime that would get paid to PG&E and to the crews that were working, not only the SAM crews, but also the contract crews that were working on this project. So there will be graphs and comments on this on the SAM board meeting on Monday. Otherwise, the SAM plant is looking pretty good and moving along in terms of getting things fixed. And that's the SAM report. We need to figure out a way to get a holding tank in for the future for the health of the SAM plant and the cost effectiveness of the SAM plant, so we are not having to do our work at midnight.
I'm just going to add.
I have one more question.
I'm going to add a comment real quick. First off, it's excellent that we have not only Clemens here to speak to some of the treatment aspects, but Jim as well to speak to the medical aspects. This is an especially interesting board and team that we have here. I'll mention something I don't think either of you mentioned, is that the waste stream passes through, it goes through chlorine contact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So whatever didn't get it before is going to get it on the way out the door at SAM. So appreciate your concern. I think it's a good one. And it's something that we can maybe think about a little bit more, but I think that we should, COVID's not the first virus that the sewer authority MIDCO site has ever had to deal with. In fact, it has to deal with them all. So the whole idea is kill off all the virus, kill off all the bacteria, leaving only the tiniest little remnant and then letting dilution do the rest. But the intention is kill all that stuff off and get all the solid stuff out and try to deal with some of the other things that we can get. But primarily the solids and the virus and bacteria are really key elements of things that the treatment is designed to take care of. Okay, Carlisle, you had a question?
Yeah. Just on that, I think I read that sometimes medical waste, or shall we say the residue after you've taken medicine and then used the toilet, can end up in the sewer too. And then sometimes like the estrogen or something like that affects fish. But that's off the subject I really wanted to ask was, Catherine, on that electrical system issue at SAM, I thought they said that it was an accidental stoppage, that they didn't plan to do it. They just had to go and take care of it. Is that right?
That was the previous one.
Oh, I'm sorry then. I was listening, but I guess I didn't hear that part. Thank you.
This one was planned, and they had to work with PG&E well in advance to get timing right. The whole crew showed up at 5:30 in the morning. I took a little bit of heat because I wasn't there at 5:30 in the morning, and I suggested that maybe if they had communicated with us, we all would have been there to help. But that it's important to communicate with your staff when you need help.
Well, thank you. Okay, that answers that question. Thank you very much. Because it was a concern of that flood in December, that the electrical was, in peril.
No, I will say that in spite of the appeal of the lawsuit, SAM, the entire board at SAM is working towards the overall welfare of the plant and the system. And so things are getting done, and there isn't a whole lot of argument with those two pumps that needed to be put in. there was not much discussion, no real argument. People seem to understand the importance of getting the plant caught up to be able to operate with good equipment and in an efficient manner.
Well, I just thought there was so much deferred maintenance that that's what caused this electrical shutdown. But thank you so much. You can't fix all that deferred maintenance all overnight. Thank you.
That's it. And putting in these pumps, which came to about $150,000. No, I'm sorry, about $200,000 worth of goods and services, is something that has been put off and that has been needed. So it's good to be having this happen.
Okay, Rick?
Yeah, the other parts of the COVID testing that I thought were interesting was because testing is not required. There's home testing, there's no reporting, blah, 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 that you can't hide the stuff that's in the sewage. So it gives at least 2 days warning that there's a problem. So I thought that was really interesting. It's kind of I guess a pre-warning that there's going to be a problem. So I thought that was interesting. So.
Yeah, good. All right, are we ready for the next report? Mid-Coast Community Council.
I haven't been following it.
Okay, and
I just maybe I have a little bit of brief report actually that we were copied into a letter from JQ Oswine just today that will be presented at the Mid-Coast Community Council, and it was in regards to the Connect the Coast item that's up tonight. And he had a number of suggestions and suggested that the letter be in the record at the MCC, and I'm happy to put it in our record as well with the suggestion.
okay, thank you. Rick, we've got CSDA report and LAFCO report. Either or both or neither.
Can I just say really quickly that Gretchen Kelly came to the MCC meeting via Zoom and gave a very nice, compliment to Clemens, because it was talking about lead in the airport wells and everything, besides the lead from the gasoline at the airport and all of that. There was a lot of stuff talked about, but she gave Clemens a high compliment. So you might want to watch the MCC part of the airport meeting. Okay, thank you.
Pointing that out.
Thank you, Carla. All right, Rick.
Nothing on the CSDA. But the LAFCO meeting yesterday was very interesting. We have a new director, in case I haven't said that yet, Rob Bartoli. He was the assistant to Martha. He got approved at the last meeting. The item of interest to us is the East Palo Alto Sanitary District. They are fighting with the developers and the city of East Palo Alto. The developers wanted them to pay and have the ratepayers pay for everything. They said, no, that's not our policy. So they did this MSR, which is a municipal service review. Basically, Josh Cosgrove went with me on, you don't design a system for the future. you design a system for now. If you do design the system for the future, size-wise, that's illegal. It's development inducing, but there was a tone that the special district has not been doing the required maintenance and or raising rates, that they're more concerned about keeping the rates low than doing what they're required to do. So this was just the draft, but the board voted 6-1. Guess who did the one? To go ahead and move this forward. So you can go look on the LAFCO site and see all the, there were at least 2 comments in the consultant's report that said the ratepayers should not pay for this. But they were talking alternatives, the city taking over the sanitary district, possible merger into West Bay Sanitary District. None of that's been decided. I made the comment that if the city gets control, they will just raise the rates. So I was the unpopular one, and that's the report.
So you were the only one who voted no. Everyone else voted to adopt the report.
The draft.
The draft, yes.
I said I wanted better definitions of what the East Palo Alto Sanitary District hadn't done, what was critical, what would be their share. I was looking for a compromise. Nobody else was interested in that. So it'll move forward. I don't know what repercussions this would have on us, but they were talking about dissolving the district and all kinds of stuff. So that's the report.
Well, thank you for being involved in all that at that level of detail. It's an important
It's
thing.
my role.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. Attorney's report.
No report. Thank
I have
you.
my hand up.
Thank you. I'm
LAFCO.
sure I saw it go down, so I need to see it go up and down. Okay, Carlisle, please.
You mean I should flicker it if you forgot to acknowledge me?
No, no. I mean, I'm not seeing it go down after you talk every time. So.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I had taken it down, but then Rick mentioned something that I wanted to ask a question. So the city of Palo Alto is telling the sanitary district they want to expand the sewer capacity, but they don't want to do it because it will raise rates, right? Is that's what I understood you to mean?
It's East Palo Alto first.
I meant East Palo Alto. I'm sorry.
The problem is that traditionally, like us and like Granada, we don't pay for the enhancements. The developers pay for that, and we didn't pay for the development up in the harbor, and Granada didn't pay for their part of the problem. We tried to say on many different levels that the current ratepayers paid for the existing system and they should not be burdened with the enhancements. And this is an enhancement. It's not a replacement, but it's an expansion. So The only thing that the Palo Alto district, East Palo Alto district, could do was if they replaced pipes, they would have to replace them with exactly the same size. So anything else is development inducing. So I
Right.
thought they had a pretty good argument. The fact that they didn't expand any of their pipes, which the Coastal Commission would have rejected, seems to be the only argument. Yeah, they had a lot of deferred maintenance, but that's the deal. That's the law.
So my question was, they don't want the developer to have to pay, like, for instance, when Big Wave extended the sewer line down the airport street, they had to pay for it, right?
Yep.
But the city of Palo Alto is like patting the
Palo Alto.
developers on the back and we'll take care of this for you. And I see. Oh, God. All right.
Not only that, but the ratepayers will take it.
Jesus.
I
Well,
will.
I like the way
let me
we've got our
add-
system. Thanks.
We've seen this before, Sid. The developers generally have more money and political influence than a little special district. And so they're trying this, I hope the special district can get a good attorney who can cite standard practice and to make sure that their ratepayers are protected. It's kind of like this lawsuit between us and Half Moon Bay. As we said in our press release, we didn't want to spend the money because we didn't want the lawsuit. But in order to protect our ratepayers, we had to spend the money, or it would have put our ratepayers in huge spiraling rates for the long time, for the future, forever. So and we've seen it in other projects in Half Moon Bay where the developers had more money and better attorneys than the city.
Well, and I think isn't it true that Pacifica right now has a loss, or they're raising their rates because of their sewer spill, but that's the city-run sewer plant, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, it's pretty normal, unfortunately, that people who want something that isn't theirs can find a way to make other people spend money to defend it. It's as old as the hills. Okay. Christine, you were saying that you had nothing for us?
Correct. I have no report.
I do believe there will be a matter that you could go ahead and speak to now for a closed session.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As to the closed session matter pertaining to real property negotiations at 771 Rivera Drive, Director Lohman will be recusing himself from the meeting, disengaged from Zoom due to his conflict of interest under Government Code Section 87-100.
Okay.
I'd like to make a suggestion for a future agenda item.
Okay. We are at director's reports. This might be a good time.
Yep. I received a printout from a meeting today on this thing called One Shoreline. And I would like to get a full report. Maybe Clemens could invite the One Shoreline folks to come and present to us. It's supposedly about sea level rise and drought and all this water stuff, and it apparently is a new agency created by the state legislature, and I want to know how it impacts special districts, because these appear to be appointed members, not elected. So I think the public needs to know exactly what's going on with this One Shoreline thing. Thank you.
I could tell you a little bit if you want.
No, let's
Okay.
save that for.
All right.
Let's say, it's easy enough to Google. Just Google the one shoreline, one word.
It's a San Mateo County newly
Right.
acquired thing, but they want to get a parcel tax going. Let's face it.
Okay, we'll bring it back. Thank you. All right. Do we have any other directors' reports? General manager's report?
No report.
Okay. We are going to take a brief 5-minute recess, and then we're going to return in closed session. We will be taking up existing litigation, the lawsuit where Half Moon Bay is appealing their loss in the court. So let's see, we'll also be taking up Sabrina Brennan versus the district. There's a potential case of anticipated litigation. There's a conference with labor negotiators of the unrepresented employees and the unrepresented employee general manager. And then we'll have a conference with real property negotiators under Government Code 54956.8 regarding the property at 771 Rivera Road here in Montara. Okay, with that, thank all the members of the public for joining us tonight. I appreciate your participation. Look forward to seeing you again soon. And we are in recess, and we'll reconvene at, let's make it 8:25.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for being here.
Bye. Thank you.